Morning, everyone. I'm Katie, the Education Director here at Carolina Tiger Rescue. Behind the camera today we have Marissa, our volunteer coordinator.
Morning.
And I've got Rajah, who I'm hoping will settle down in just a minute. He hasn't seen many people this morning, so he is checking us out and figuring out if we have anything for him, and I don't. So he should hang out in just a second, or sit down in just a second, ideally. Are you gonna hang out?
He likes story time.
You know what cats do? Whatever they want. Especially when you're 330 pounds of cat. Alright, so this morning it is, I've been told Tuesday, so it's time for Tiger Tales Tuesday. Sorry we missed you yesterday. And if you did not get the notice, we are dropping back to 3 days a week. Typically it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yesterday we had some stuff that we had to do, so we couldn't tune in with you yesterday, but this week it'll be today, tomorrow, and Friday. Then next week we'll start up with Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So keep an eye out for that. We are putting out the schedule. Tomorrow we're gonna look, the weather looks great, so we're gonna hang out with the Kinkadoos, have you guys meet the Kinkadoos because they're outside, which is super exciting. But today we are going to read a book that's actually about one of our former tigers, Nitro. This is by National Geographic Kids. It is also for sale in our gift shop. And one of the stories in here is about Nitro, who's got a pretty cool and interesting story, and one that we were happy and excited to be a part of. So we're going to get started with that, and he'll either hang out with us or he won't. Totally up to him. All right, so Tiger in Trouble. Nitro, Tiger in Trouble. Chapter 1. Don't worry, there's only 3 chapters, so I'm not going to keep you all day. Junkyard Jungle. 10-year-old Nitro paced in his cage. It was evening on February 21st, 2009. The sun was setting quickly. Nitro's owner, Jeffrey Harsh, was late with the tiger's dinner. Hungry big cats get restless, but Nitro couldn't pace far. His chain link cage was only 20 feet wide and 30 feet long, 1/3 the size of the school gym. Nitro was 8 feet long.
Can we see that picture, Katie?
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry, the book is a little smaller.
Story has pictures.
So that is Nitro, and that is a picture that we took when we went to pick him up. If you notice in here, there are skulls from animals that he had eaten. There's also a bucket, and it was a very small area. So remember, it was 20 feet wide, 30 feet long, and he was 8 feet long. So it's not a big enough space for him. He could only take a few steps. Then he had to turn around and walk the other way, back and forth, back and forth. He stepped over bones in the dust. They were left over from earlier meals. He brushed against Apache, the other tiger in his cage. His empty belly grumbled. He growled and roared. So in that 20-foot by 30-foot space, it wasn't just Nitro, it was also Apache. So 2 tigers living in that space, which was smaller than Rajah's one shift here. You just can't decide this morning.
There we go.
All right. You gonna hang out?
He wants to hear how the story ends.
Yes, it has a good ending. Nitro and Apache were not alone. There were 3 female lions in the other cages nearby. All of these big cats were living at the Prairie Cat Animal Refuge near Oakley, Kansas, and they were all hungry. A man wandered to the main gate. The cat's eyes locked on him. He opened the gate and slowly came inside. The man passed piles of junk. He looked into each animal's cage. Nitro listened while the other cats studied the stranger. There's a little foreshadowing there. He listened while the other ones studied. Then the man walked toward a lioness. He slipped his hand inside the metal bars of her gate. It was a very bad choice. To the hungry lion, his arms looked like dinner. Her instinct told her she needed to catch her meal, and she listened. She bit down on the stranger's arm. He screamed and screamed. Just then, Jeffrey drove up with a truck full of meat. He could tell right away things were not right. The entry gate was unlocked and open. Screams were coming from the big cat's cages. Jeffrey jumped out of his truck and ran towards the sound. Jeffrey saw the stranger. He ran past Nitro toward the lion cage. Jeffrey grabbed the man and tried to pull him free, but he wasn't as strong as the lion, and she would not let go. He never hit the animals, but he didn't know what else to do. The man was in serious danger. Jeffrey picked up a metal pipe and swung at the lioness. At last, she opened her jaws and the frightened man fell back. Jeffrey rushed the stranger to the hospital. As he drove, he called the police on his cell phone. Nitro would have to wait a little longer for his dinner. His owner was under arrest. He had not protected the stranger from the dangerous big cats. Until that night, Jeffrey Harsh had broken no laws. Almost half of the states in the U.S. have passed laws to make it illegal to own wild animals like Nitro. 13 other states have some rules that say who can keep them and who cannot. The rest of the states have almost no laws at all. There, almost anyone can buy a wild animal. Kansas is one of the 13 states with some rules, but the rules are not strong enough, said Sheriff Rod Taylor, the officer who arrested Jeffrey. Owners do not even need to take a class to learn how to care for a wild animal. If people like Jeffrey Harsh follow a few rules, they can buy big cats and raise them. And terrible things can happen. Jeffrey didn't see it that way. He didn't think his big cats would hurt anyone. He thought since the animals were raised in captivity or in cages, they would not act like wild animals. They were born into captivity, he said on his website, and bottle fed, so they think they are human. They're as gentle and sweet as a house cat. He was wrong. Alright, so I'm going to stop right there. I have 2 house cats at home, and one of them, if she was the size of the tiger, would eat me without a problem. Her name's Prem. I love her dearly. However, she is still as domestic as any other cat, but as wild as can be. It's okay, Prem. Love you. It's fine. The judge gave Jeffrey a choice. He could pay fines and spend months in jail, or he could give his big cats to people who knew how to take care of them. Jeffrey decided to give his pets away. The lionesses were headed to the Detroit Zoo, but the zoo did not need any tigers. No zoo did. So where would Nitro and Apache go? Sheriff Taylor called animal rescue experts for help. And they were told about Carolina Tiger Rescue in North Carolina. Would they agree to take Nitro and Apache? That was the big question. Catherine Burtock, who works... He likes this part. This is where Carolina Tiger Rescue comes in. That's his favorite part. Catherine Burtock works at Carolina Tiger Rescue. She takes care of the animals that live there. You know Catherine.
Rajah's like, I totally know her. I know that lady.
She's kind of famous.
It's true.
We won't take an animal unless we can care for them the rest of their lives, Catherine explained. That's because moving a tiger is hard. It is hard for the tiger. It is also hard for the people moving it. Tigers that are cared for by humans can live to be 20 years old. Nitro and Apache were 10 years old. Tiger Rescue would have to pay for the cost of feeding and caring for the 2 tigers for 10 more years. Could they afford it? There was another important question. How much space would Nitro and Apache need? Big cats get sad living in small spaces. They pace in a figure 8 pattern. They pant and grumble. They would even suck on their tails like a baby. Human sucks its thumb. The tiny cage in Kansas was far too small for 2 full-grown cats. A new home for Nitro and Apache would need to be bigger, much bigger. It would take a space 37 times as big as their Kansas cage to keep them happy. Experts at Carolina Tiger Rescue thought long and hard. At last, they answered yes. Chapter 2, To the Rescue. Moving Nitro and Apache from Kansas to North Carolina would be a tiger-sized challenge. See what they did there? Even so, Catherine was sure she could do it. Catherine loaded the rescue's truck. She put in 2 large crates, one for Nitro and one for Apache. She also took along tools and fence cutters. The tiger cubs had grown large in their little chain link cage. So even though the story doesn't quite tell it, Catherine had a whole team of people to help her move these guys. It wasn't just her. So in this picture is our veterinarian, Dr. Angela Lassiter. That is her here. Our lead keeper, Lauren. And then our former site manager. They were now too big to get in and out through the door. Catherine might have to cut the cage apart. On April 12, 2009, Catherine arrived in Oakley, Kansas. She had been driving for 26 hours. She wasn't alone, I promise. She checked into a hotel and got ready for a good night's sleep. Saving 2 tigers would not be easy. Catherine would need all of her strength and energy. Catherine, Sheriff Taylor, and an animal doctor called a veterinarian, or vet, met at the front gate of Prairie Cat Animal Refuge. Nitro was awake. He heard news, voices, and smelled unfamiliar scents. The strangers made him feel uneasy. He paced and softly grumbled. Catherine could tell that the tigers were calm, but they did not seem to trust her. Animals can sense when something big is about to happen, she said. It was time for Nitro and Apache to take a nap. The vet had a special dart gun to shoot medicine into the tigers. If the dart hits just right, Nitro and Apache would be fast asleep in no time. They would sleep while the team moved them. Then they would wake up, safe and sound inside their travel crates. The vet knew just the right amount of medicine to use. Pop, pop. The vet pulled the trigger, and the darts hit their targets. Nitro hissed quietly when the dart hit his shoulder. His ears fell back against his head. He was afraid. Then he felt the medicine start to work. He settled down. His stomach was flat on his dusty teeth. He don't like this part. It's okay though. It's okay, Rajah.
We've already said Rajah doesn't like getting in a crate. He doesn't want to hear this part. It's a very suspenseful part of the story, Katie.
It is. His breathing slowed down. He fell into a deep and peaceful sleep. Quickly, Catherine cut a large hole in the chain link fence. She and the others climbed through the hole into the cage. Gently, they loaded Nitro into a large travel crate. It looked like a crate for a very large dog. Nitro awoke a short time later. He was safely loaded into the Carolina Tiger Rescue truck. Catherine drove east out of Kansas. Nitro was slightly confused, but not afraid. Depends on the animal, Catherine said, but these guys were fine. When you get on the road, they tend to settle down like kids. The movement of the truck relaxes them. Every 2 hours, Nitro saw his new caretakers. They stopped to check on him and give him food or water. 26 hours later, Nitro was at the rescue. See, it got better, Rajah, I told you. But it would be still another month before he could move into his forever home. The concrete cells where Nitro and Apache first stayed weren't comfortable. The hard surface felt strange against Nitro's paws. The cells were clean and safe. The people at the rescue needed to keep Nitro and Apache separated. They could not be near the other cats for 30 days. During that time, the tigers would get a full medical checkup by the veterinarians. If they had any diseases, the vets could find out before they passed it on to other tigers. They would also check Nitro and Apache for injuries and give them medicine if they needed it. Only after that could the tigers be around other animals. The veterinarian put Nitro to sleep again. This time, it was a much deeper sleep because the vet had a lot to do. Nitro needed his teeth cleaned. He had to get shots. And he also needed to have a tiny microchip placed just under his skin. Then he could be tracked and returned to Carolina Tiger Rescue if he was ever lost or stolen. He wasn't. big cats wake up. They're a little sleepy, but otherwise healthy. Nitro was not most big cats. As he woke, Nitro began to moan and pant. He could hardly stand, and he was confused. Catherine had seen it before. Nitro was suffering from hyperthermia. That meant he could not control his body temperature. His fever was rising quickly. If the staff did not act fast to cool him, he may not survive. Catherine brought out water hoses. Each animal caretaker took turns bathing Nitro's body with cool water. They needed to keep his fever down. His paws went bright pink when he was in trouble, she said. Keeping him cool really helped. After 2 days, Nitro finally was getting better. He was hungry. He even started to walk around his cage. But Catherine noticed something strange. 3 of the 4 walls of the cage were made of concrete. The 4th wall was made of chain link. Most animals face the chain link wall. They like to watch what is going on the outside of their cage. Nitro did not. He would sit and stare at the concrete walls, Catherine said. And when he did turn around toward our voices, he would follow the sound of our voices, but not our movements. Catherine knew this meant one thing. Nitro was blind. Chapter 3, Nitros New Life. Now that he was healthy, Nitro was ready for his new cage, but he couldn't see it. His owner in Kansas had never noticed Nitro was blind. That cage had been so small, Nitro had been able to memorize every inch, so he may not have seemed blind. Why was Nitro blind? That's hard to tell. Catherine ruled out brain injury. There were no scars around Nitro's eyes that might mean he had had an injury. We just don't know what caused his condition, Catherine said. Here's what they did know. The caretakers at the rescue had a big challenge ahead of them. They had to help a blind tiger find his way without the use of his eyes. Nitro walked through his big new home. He reached out with huge 6-inch paws. He was trying to feel what was ahead of him. He did not know where things were around him. Not a twig, not a path, not a feeding dish. He was a little afraid. He could never tell when he was getting close to running into a fence. He was roughing up his nose because he would walk right up to the fence and hit it, Catherine said. We kept thinking, you have to slow down. But how do you teach a blind tiger to find the fence he cannot see? We started marking the fence with peppermint, Catherine explained. He would know when he smelled it, he should slow down. The peppermint marked the borders of his space. Once he learned where the fences were, the people at the rescue put sand down on the pathways. Sand pathways. The sand pathways led to Nitro's food and his cozy den. When Nitro felt the sand under his paws, he knew it would end up in one of those areas. When Nitro felt leaves and dirt and twigs, he knew that he was not heading in the right direction. In time, Nitro learns where every bump, every tree, every food box was in his new cage. When he did, the sand and peppermint could be put away. Nitro was finally home. Caretakers noticed a big change in Nitro. He mastered his space. He couldn't see people, but he knew where they were, even if they stood perfectly still. He shuffled in their direction to get them to answer. He wanted to hear if he knew their voices. He wanted to know who they were. Nitro the blind tiger has become the rescue's favorite. Volunteer guide people through Caroline Tiger Rescue once a week. They never miss a stop at Nitro's cage. They tell his story and give him little treats, scraps of chicken or beef. Nitro never disappoints. He has a great attitude, Catherine says. Things haven't been easy for him, but he still comes up to the fence happily chuckling. Caretakers agree. Nitro is a trusting tiger. He never seems cranky or mad. Even so, he was and still is a tough wild tiger. He still has the kill instincts. In many ways, Nitro acts like a pet cat. He takes cat naps. He scratches his claws on the trees like a house cat would. uses scratching posts. He rolls in the dirt. He licks his fur to groom himself. He likes to play by crouching and then pouncing. Still, Nitro's size and weight would make those playful swats and scratches deadly. If a house cat gets scared and claws your hand, you need a bandage. If a tiger gets scared and uses its claws, you could get a cut that needs stitches. Or something worse. The tiger isn't turning mean. It's showing behaviors that keeps it alive in the wild. In the wild, tigers are solitary animals, which means they live alone. They need to protect themselves and find food. Their keen eyes notice even the smallest movements. They pounce with their powerful legs. Tigers hold the animals they catch tightly so they can't get away. They kill the animals quickly. Then they defend the food they catch with sharp claws so other tigers won't steal it. Tigers at zoos or rescues don't need to use those rough behaviors tigers use in the wild. Tigers in captivity don't need to find their own food, and they won't be attacked by other animals. But in captivity or in the wild, tigers still have the same instincts. Creating more laws to help big cats would stop some of the unhappy endings for tigers like Nitro. If every state makes owning tigers against the laws, only zoos and special programs could raise them. Fewer animals would be mistreated or killed. Nitro, the tiger in trouble, will be safe from now on. Spends his days wandering around his huge cage. He naps in his den and he trots towards people who visit him. He roars at the other cats in the rescue and they answer him. Nitro is happy and he is loved. The people at Caroline Tiger Rescue will take care of him the rest of his life. Even Nitro can see how great an ending that turned out to be. And that is the story of Nitro, our tiger who was blind. He did unfortunately pass away a few years ago. Do you remember, Marissa, what year he passed away? Should have probably looked that up before I came out here.
Yep. You carry on.
It's okay. I'm going to stall while Marissa double checks it.
Yep.
So he did unfortunately pass away. He was a sanctuary favorite though while he was here. And he enjoyed his time here at the rescue. And it just shows the lengths we're willing to go to make sure that these guys are happy and healthy and have the best life possible. This book is a titch outdated, as you can probably tell with some of the things that were being said. But unfortunately there are still 4 states in the United States that do not have laws against owning big cats like Nitro or Rajah. North Carolina is unfortunately still one of those states. So it's really important that we get those laws passed to make sure that everybody is safe and stays safe. And that's not just the humans staying safe, it's the tigers as well, and the big cats and the wild cats as well. These guys deserve the love and respect that we feel that they should have, and that means that people shouldn't own them privately, in our opinion. Question?
There was a question, Katie, about when Rajah was up here earlier, which of course he's down there now. He's just laying down.
He's totally laid out.
It's true. He's laid out exactly like he was over here, but over there. Is it dangerous for you to have your back to the animals? And is Rajah the only one in this enclosure?
Rajah is the only one that lives in this enclosure. He used to live with another tiger named Kayla. If you don't remember, I'll tell you a story really quick. Rajah is, and then Kayla, the other tiger who he used to live with, were the 2 tiger cubs found on the side of the road in January of 2005 when they were about 6 months old. They grew up together in this enclosure. They had lived in another enclosure for a little bit, but then spent most of their life in this enclosure. She almost 3 years ago, it'll be 3 years ago in September, passed away. A year or 2 before she passed away, they started to not get along. She had some long-term health conditions come up and decided, I don't want to live with him anymore, and he decided the same thing, so we separated them. But he does have this large enclosure. It's one of our largest at this point. And he gets to live in it like a bachelor and do what he wants in here. And then I totally forgot what the other question was.
What is it dangerous for you to turn your back to the animal?
Is it dangerous? Absolutely, but I trust this fence. I know this fence is going to hold him. He is fairly used to people coming up here and visiting with him. If that fence wasn't here, I certainly would not be here, and I certainly would not turn my back to him. There are times that for enrichment, we will go around and played essentially hide and stalk with the animals. Of course, they're in their enclosure. We are outside. We'll turn our back, and they come bounding out, and it is a natural instinct for them to go ahead and attack anything that turns their back on them. So yes, it is, but I trust this fence with my life, and it's gonna hold.
It's true. Someone wants to know if we ever mow the enclosures, Katie.
Yes, we do mow the enclosures. What are you saying? The grass is a little high?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So one thing that we do want to do is leave them with grass to hide behind. They certainly will use that as enrichment. We want to give them places to hide and to get out of the line of sight. We also, though, need to have that grass short enough that we can find the animal when it's time to find the animal. So because we are limited in the number of staff, the grass is a little higher than what we would normally keep it at. But it is not an unsafe level that we can't find these guys if necessary. We also know the ones who tend to hide in it more, and we'll hit their enclosures first with the either their grass whip or the mower. Rajah is one of those that typically will pop his head up when somebody comes around, and he's easier to find. But yes, we do mow the grass. What's fun to see is, you can see this area right behind me. The grass is one of his lay spots. He likes to lay because he's essentially just folded all the grass down. So it's fun to see where they prefer to lay. That gets to be a really sunny area later in the day. And then he's got another favorite spot in the back there where it's a little shadier, so when it gets hot, he can go back there. But yes, we do mow the grass. It just takes a little longer sometimes than others. But yes, we mow the grass.
You talked about how Rajah used to have an enclosure mate,
yes,
and now has his bachelor pad.
Yes.
When an enclosure goes from a multi-animal enclosure to a singleton, do we eliminate some of the space they have access to?
Ah, that's a great question.
Right?
So we do not. He has access to the entire enclosure just as he did when he lived with Kayla. That is the same for anybody else. We give them that entire space. If necessary, if we knew that we needed this large enclosure that can hold at least 2 big cats, if not 3, and he's living in here all by himself, if we knew we needed that, we could certainly move him to an enclosure that wasn't quite as large. But Rajah is one of those who, if you tuned in last Thursday, we showed you how we transport the animals in crates. And Saber popped in that crate without a problem, actually laid down in there and acted like he had been in that crate and loved it. Rajah won't get in the crate. So Rajah is not high on the list of animals to move should we need to move animals around. He is one that either would take probably months of preparation with the crates and training and all that to get him in the crate, and even then he'll probably say no. So he is one that would have to be sedated to move. And so even though he's living in this large enclosure on his own right now, he gets to have it all by himself. We don't need anybody else or several other cats who need it. They've got their space, and so he'll enjoy it all on his own. Should the need arise, of course, we can move him. He's, though, not at the top of that list to do, because he's going to make it as difficult as possible, which is his right. He's a tiger and a cat.
Couple more questions real quick.
Sure.
One person who tuned in late was asking what story you read and where they can get it.
Perfect. This is called Tiger in Trouble by National Geographic Kids, and it's actually for sale in our gift shop. You can purchase it online. And we can send that to you. In fact, I might have grabbed this one from the gift shop on my way out. It's hard to say.
It's true.
Barcode on the back says I did. But yes, so this can be purchased in our gift shop. Anything that's purchased on our gift shop, the money stays here at the rescue to help with operations. So just know that. You certainly can probably find it on other platforms where you can purchase books, but just know that if you do purchase it here, the money does stay here, which is fantastic. There's some other great books in there as well. If you're really bored, there are also puzzles in there. I might have just sent one to my grandma, who was super excited to get that. So check out our gift shop online. It's called Savannah Station, but if you just go to carolinetigerrescue.org, you will be able to, up in the top right hand corner, be able to find the shop button, and it'll take you right there.
Perfect. And then in the story, you talked about how someone wandered onto the property where Nitro and Apache were living.
Yes.
To reach their arm in to touch one of the animals.
Bad idea.
Terrible choice, right? Terrible life choice. Do we have anything set up to where our animals are protected from curious folks like that?
What a fantastic question. We do. So we have a perimeter fence that surrounds our entire property.
You can see
it
all
not
back
only
there.
surrounds where the animals are, if you can see that large fence there. It's 12 feet tall. And there is electric wire on it as well. That serves two purposes. One is to make sure that nobody wanders onto our property, but it's also to make sure, another safety measure, that if one of our cats was to get out of their enclosure, that fence is going to keep them inside our property so that we can get them safely back where they need to be. Never had to use it for that purpose. Another added benefit of being here is it is wicked dark out here at night, and terrifying. There are no lights, and so that fence would prevent anybody from wandering onto the property at any time of day, but also two, it's a little scary out here at night without the lights and all, and you know they're watching you, but it's hard to find. So yes, we have a perimeter fence. We also, Marissa actually lives here on site. Up at our house, there's an apartment that she lives in, so there's somebody here every single night to make sure that if there are any emergencies, somebody is here on site. And then as we leave for the day, we lock up all the gates. There's a massive drive-through gate that we lock, one to go into the sanctuary, and then a second one to even get onto our property. And so all that is locked up at night. And then anytime, just as another added safety measure, anytime somebody is in the sanctuary, we all have our radios. And then there is always somebody up at the house who is on radio as well, so that if there was any emergency out here, they are able to help us out with that we're not all out here at the same time. There is somebody who is up at the house at all times when somebody is out in the sanctuary.
All right, one more question.
Yes.
Since we talked about how we protect our community from the animals and vice versa with the
Yes.
perimeter fence, how can people at home help animals like Nitro and Rajah?
What a great idea. What a great question. So there's a lot of different ways that you can help. So Nitro was living in a state where it was legal. I can't remember the laws in Kansas at this time, but currently in North Carolina, there's no laws against owning them. So let your legislators know that you're not okay with that. There's no different counties. There's 100 counties in North Carolina. About 50 of our counties either have laws preventing owning animals such as Rajah or Nitro, but others just require a permit, and those permits can be really cheap. And then nobody checks up on you and checks up on your neighbors. So let your legislators know that you're not okay with that you don't feel safe with that, and that you want state laws passed. These guys should not be in the hands of private owners. They should be, if with anybody, they should be with people like us who are able to keep everybody safe, not only the animal, but the public and us as well. And then the other thing is making sure that when things do open back up, take a good look at the facilities that you're choosing to patronize and choosing to go to. It should be really clear on their website what they're there for, and if they're not transparent, there's a reason they're not being transparent. We're going to tell you everything that we can about our guys, where they come from, why we're here, and what our mission is. And it's really important that you look within those facilities that you're looking to you're looking to patronize, and see what they're all about. Decide what your values are. What do you want to help do for these guys, and decide if that facility is aligned with your values. And if they're not, find another facility who it is. There's a lot of places, in our opinion, that should not exist, that continue to exist because people are continuing to give them money. And if they are able to if the money coming in is limited or runs out, they're going to then be forced to close down, and those animals can be moved to safer and better places for them. So, great question. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna say goodbye, and then Marissa, it'd probably be good that the last look would be at a tiger.
Pop over at Raj, yeah.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be here tomorrow. The weather looks amazing, so we're gonna go meet our kinkajous who are outside. We haven't talked much about them. They've been inside because the weather's been cool, but they're outside now. They are nocturnal, so we're gonna have to definitely take some snacks down to see if we can't get them up before they sleep the day away, so you can meet our kinkajous. We'll at least meet Albert, and we'll do our best to meet some others too, but sometimes they say no, which is totally up to them. Your activity today is to design an enclosure for an animal that may have some sort of ailment like Nitro Death, that was blind. So check that out on the website. That'll be up shortly. And I will tell you, I'm sending out more Picassos today for those who have submitted their activities. So don't forget to do that. We will see you tomorrow for Wildcat. Well, tomorrow will be Wild Kinkajou Wednesday. And then we'll be back on Friday. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. And Marissa, if you want to head over to see the big guy.
I absolutely do. So I know we were saying bye and have a great day to everyone, but we have someone watching from Sydney, Australia.
Oh my gosh.
So have a lovely evening. I hope you sleep well. Rajah? Really? Come on, big man.
He says, I'm tired.
Hi. Everyone tuned in to watch. Oh, see? He's going to sleep too. It's a beautiful day for a cat nap. Oh, yeah. Not even going to come up. He's just going to groom and be lovely. All right. Well, thank you guys again so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day or a great evening, whatever's ahead of you. Oh, good. And Rajah's going to come up for one more quick goodbye. Thank you guys so much. Oh, big stretch. I can't. There we go. We got a good chuff from Raj. Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys.
Have a wonderful rest of your day or rest of your evening. Bye, everybody.